Okay, so I'll be presenting a short demonstration of what I've done so far. So first up here we have the scene. Right now the time is paused. With a simple button click I can just unpause it so we can see the birds moving. They're like represented by these pyramids in different colors. Here we have our current stats. We can increase and decrease the speed with simple buttons. We can also get it into the negative to like play the time backwards. Um, Next up, we can select birds like this one, and it will show the animal ID as well as the animal's current speed and acceleration. Um, then let's look at this next. So here we can select our current time. The button slider represents the time within a section. So I've actually loaded in quite a lot of data from the long-term dataset, which goes over the first day, which I think was like 3 hours of time. So obviously we can't load that in all the time. So I've loaded it in by section. So this bottom slider actually does move like a YouTube video to represent the time, and we can drag it around to immediately apply the changes and see the birds moving. Next up, we can also change the section. So, for example, if we want to go to section 5, we click this button and we get this short notice saying loading in data, which means we have to wait a bit for the section to be loaded. And now it has been loaded, so the notice is gone, and we now see the current section. So like this, you can move in time pretty freely. You can, I don't know, move to the end of the section if we want to. Another thing we have in the scene are these special objects. These are loaded in from a separate file containing the like registry positions, and we can also look for events regarding them, but more for that later. So then next up we have custom events. So for these, the user is able to mark certain time points in time as interesting. So for example, if I thought, oh, this moment right now is interesting, I can just stop the time to like not move any further and then enter any name. Just gonna put something random for now and then click add current event, and we can see down here we now have this new event, and then we can go back to this event whenever we want to. So for example, I don't know, we could move to any of these that I've already put in right now if we wanted to, and we can also delete them and add them, and these are loaded in these are like saved, so they're loaded in again and don't get lost when the application is closed. So next up we have the predefined events. So these are events that are actually can be looked for automatically. So right now we have 3 of them. The first is the speed threshold event. So how this works, it will basically look for any bird that will exceed this speed threshold and then automatically get us to this point in time. So if I now click this, then we most of the time end up with the bird moving. Right now this one stopped because of missing data. But yeah, we can like do this over and over again to find flying birds and like find those interesting events where the birds actually are moving. The acceleration threshold pretty much works exactly the same, just with the acceleration amount. And then we also have the special object distance event. For this one, we first have to select certain special objects. For example, I could select these two and then say I want an event where birds are closer than 2 meters. I think it might actually be the case right now. So probably won't happen much, yeah, as I assumed. So maybe I'm just gonna not use this one and just use this one because I think they're further than 2 meters. So yeah, now we found one where there is one closer than that. And there are also 2 options that we can apply to any of these events. The first is to look in all sections. This obviously also increases the search time by quite a lot, since the data has to be loaded in and out repeatedly, especially if you're looking for events that might not even exist. So if we, for example, say 0 here, and then maybe select the middle one, I think that we probably won't find anything. So if we tick this and then look for find, we'll just get the current section that is looked for. It will always look the current section first and then the section after that, and so on, and it will basically loop through all sections, searching for these events. And yeah, right now not much is happening, obviously, because I don't think there's any point in time where any bird is that close. So we'll just have to wait for the result, and while we do that, I can show maybe some other settings. So here we have basically all the settings that are on the screens are also on this mobile kind of thing that we can move around with our left controller, and so we can like look through here and see all the same things, and it has like 2 options that are unique to this mobile display. I could probably put them on the wall as well. So the first one is to show the rotation of the birds. We can just enable that real quick. So it doesn't look quite great, and that's why it's disabled per default, but it is a possibility. And then we also can disable the special objects if maybe they are in the way. So right now we already had the result, no matching events found, which is what I assumed would happen. And we can just disable them if maybe you're looking for something that where they are not relevant and they just block the space. And the other setting we can put to the predefined events is to only look for events with the current bird selected. So I'm just gonna click that and then maybe select this red one and see if we can find an event where it actually flies. I think, yeah, that was just barely over the threshold, probably just wiggled a bit too much. So let's see if we can find some better ones. Maybe we just have to increase the threshold, let's say maybe 4. And yeah, I think maybe actually this one doesn't really move that much. So yeah, this one did move, and now we found an event for that. So you can basically look for certain birds only as well. And yeah, I think those were all of the more prevalent features. So thank you for listening.